Hi, I'm Jessica,
Hi, I'm David.
and welcome to the first edition of Singer's Soapbox. In these videos, we'll talk about all things singing. We are the owners of Dynamic Fine Arts Academy, and we decided to do this little video series to help people if they're kind of struggling with how to sing and how to be a singer and what that all entails.
Yeah, some things we're going to address are common misconceptions that people might have about singing or even some frequently asked questions. So if you have a question, that would be our dog, Squeaking his toy. You can ask him too, though he can't sing. But anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the comments or shoot us a message and maybe we'll get to address them.
So today is all about why, like, a person's ability to sing, and something I hear all the time as a vocal teacher. I'm always like, "Well, why don't you guys come take lessons?" Oh, well, I can't sing.
Yeah, why do you think they can't sing?
Oh, I think it's.
Or why do you think they can't sing?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with they're afraid to, or they just really honestly and truly believe they can't. And usually when I ask that question to them further, if I keep asking them questions and saying, well, tell me more about that. What is it that you think you can't sing? People will, thank you, Dash, for chiming in. People will usually respond by saying, oh, well, when I was little, somebody told me I couldn't sing. And that just grinds my gears. It makes me so mad, because when kids are little like that, they're so impressionable, and they think as soon as someone tells them something that, it's truth. And a lot of times, I shouldn't say all the time, but but when they're kids like that, it's a problem, because they think they take it as truth, and then they carry that into their adult lives and believe for the rest of their life, oh, I really can't sing. Well, someone told me I couldn't, so I can't. And so they never hone those abilities. They never try to seek out help, because why would they if you just believe you can't sing? It's easier to believe some sort of lie you've been told your whole life, rather than the truth in just like 5 seconds that someone's told you. But the truth is that people can sing. Everybody can sing. There's nobody, unless you cannot speak for some reason, then you can sing. So it's not about physicality. We can rule that out right now, because the being able to physically sing has so much to do with your speaking voice, or I shouldn't even say that. I hate when people say that too, but the way you speak. If you can speak, you can sing, bottom line.
Yeah.
So
well, and also I'd like to add to that if you're a parent and your kids are singing and you hear them and it doesn't sound quite the way you think it should, just encourage them, because they're young and they're still developing their abilities, and they're at a time in their life when those abilities are so easily shaped. But as soon as somebody says to them, oh, that sounds bad, you should stop, that may be what it takes to make them stop for the rest of their lives. So it's really, really important to be encouraging to them, maybe to get them some help if they need it, or to sing with them. That's like the best thing. Whether you think you have that ability or not, if you sing with your kids, that makes it something that they think is cool, that they think is something that they can do too, because you do it with them.
Well, and to piggyback off what you're saying, with them being so little and impressionable, there's been studies done about a child's musical aptitude, and how you have to get them somewhere between 2nd and 5th grade. Their musical abilities plateau. So whatever they get before that point is crucial for their musical development. It doesn't make it impossible to learn later. It just makes it a little more difficult. So we just like to say 2nd grade, because, if you're one of those kids who 2nd grade is your time for your musical ability to plateau, and we miss it, then, it's going to be harder for you in the long run. Not impossible, though, like I said. So it's really important that, as even just straight from infancy, and I think there's even been studies done about babies in the womb, it's important that you sing to them and that even if you feel like you can't sing, you should still try and do pitch exploration exercises with them. You know, high sounds, low sounds, sustained sounds, and short sounds. All things that sound really strange to do, but it's so good for your kids because that's helping them develop their voices and how to sing. I have as we're both music teachers, both vocal music education certified. And I can't tell you how many times I have kindergartners come in and I say, okay, let's sing, let's make a sound like a little dog would, and I'll say, let's go woof woof, and they just go woof woof because they don't know how to stretch that far, how to reach that upper register in their voice and how to reproduce that sound. So they don't understand how to match the pitch that I'm asking them to match. And I'm not saying that shame on the parents. I'm just saying that, the kids, they need that to be able to hear that in the long run. They need that from the parents first because, the teachers can only do so much, especially when you've got a group of kids. It's really important that they get that at home before they come to school, and we expand upon that. So, yeah. So, essentially, like I said before, a lot of singing is a mental game, and I want you to expound upon that a little bit.
Okay. Well, we talked about how anybody who can talk basically is capable of singing. What it comes down to then is, are you like mentally prepared to sing? Are you or is there something that's getting in the way of that? Is there, like we said before, is it something that someone said to you a long time ago that, oh, you're not a singer, so you shouldn't do that, whatever it is. So that plays a role in it too. But when I'm working with students, I find that a lot of times if I can get them to quit thinking so much and overanalyzing so much into what they're doing, then their voice starts to free up and they're able to, their range is wider, for instance, than they thought it was. But if they're looking at the keyboard while I'm playing, if they know what a keyboard, where the notes and stuff are, if they're watching me do that while we're singing exercises, then a lot of times that'll get them to clamp down and all of a sudden they can't sing the high notes. Whereas if they're not looking at it and they're not overthinking it, they sing way beyond where they ever had before. So it's in that way, you're playing a mental game with yourself as a singer. And it also goes off your emotions and your moods. If you're having a bad day from an emotional standpoint, it can be harder for you to do things because you're tensed up, and being tense is, for a singer, it's really bad. It can prevent you from singing in a healthy way. As a singer, we want to be relaxed as possible whenever we're singing. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and when I teach voice lessons with my students, the first thing I always do is I always check in. I spend the first few minutes just checking in. Did you do a lot of singing today? Did you cry today? Did you scream today? I have some kids, and then when they go out to recess, they love to yell and scream and run around and play. So, but all those things kind of will affect the way that your voice is going to sound whenever you're in a lesson with me, So that all plays into it. And, your voice is different every day. You wake up and sometimes your voice is in really great shape and we're ready to sing. And some days it's like, well, I'm not really hitting the notes that I usually do. So you have to take it a day at a time. It's going to be different all the time. But the things that I do after checking in is I always, I'm very much the believer that, like I said, if you can speak, you can sing. So I always just make noises with my students to try and get them to just relax. And they feel really silly about it, but it actually helps a whole lot. So I'll just go, or, and they'll echo and I'll go, whoo, or woo, or ah. And that just helps them free up their voice a little bit and kind of put their brain in a different place. I always approach it by saying, we're not singing right now. We're just making noise. And it's really important that you establish that, because sometimes that's the make or break of them like being successful in that lesson, because the whole making noise thing, if you put their brain in a different place, then it helps to kind of relax them a little bit. Oh, I can make noise. And then I'll ask them, I was like, well, was that easy or was that difficult to do? And usually they'll be like, oh, well, that was pretty easy. Exactly. Okay, so let's move on from there. And that's when we start really diving into sustained pitches on, or sustained sounds on specific pitches, which what we refer to as singing. So it just helps them relax. And so what I'm trying to do is just trick their brain into relaxation so that we can have a successful lesson, or as successful as we can be, depending on how their voice is that day. So,
because ultimately, you know, as a voice teacher, what we're trying to get our students to do is to recognize how they're singing based on what we're hearing. Okay, so as a singer, I can't hear for real how I sound, and if you don't believe me, go do a recording of yourself and then listen to it, and you're gonna go, "Who's that?"
mm-hmm.
You know, it's gonna sound different to you because you have all the sound bouncing around in your head, and you're getting feedback from that, and it's different than what your voice teacher, or if you're singing for someone, whoever it is, what they're listening to. So as a voice teacher, I try to get my students to understand, I'm hearing this and it feels like this, or what does it feel like? I have to ask them, what does it feel like to you? And then we kind of meet in the middle, and they start to develop an understanding of what's going on with their own voice. And that's basically the essence of what taking voice lessons is. You know, some of it's going to be you learning to sing specific songs, and that's fine too. But part of it also is learning good vocal technique.
And that's why it's important to work with somebody who's trained in that sort of thing, and not just taking voice lessons from YouTube videos or watching someone on how to sing. Because really, taking voice lessons, it's like going to the doctor's office. If you're sick, you know, and there's something, they need to check you out physically. They need to be able to touch your throat and look inside. And there's things that, you know, a webcam can't cover. Even if you take voice lessons online that way, there's things a webcam can't see, and there's the microphones, there's things that the microphones can't pick up. Because, and there's little nuances that you have to really pay attention to that make a difference when you're singing. And so it's really important that you have that one-on-one interaction, like in the same place at the same time, so that the things needing to be addressed can be addressed. So that's why I'm a big proponent of, you know, having lessons at the studio and like conducting a private lesson versus having a webcam and saying, oh, well, let's take a lesson online, because I won't be able, there's some things I just can't hear. Even if you had the best microphone in the world, there's some things I can't hear.
Yeah, and you'll see that if you go search for lessons online, you'll see places that offer video lessons, and there's some stuff you can do in that way, but it's not going to be quite as good as in-person one-on-one help.
So do you have anything you'd like to add to today's video?
I don't, but if you want someone to help you find your voice or refine your singing ability, then you can contact us today to set up a lesson, and we thank you for watching.